Oftentimes online, you'll see so much conflicting and contradicting information surrounding how to build muscle when you enter the gym. You enter the gym for the first time and you want to build a bit of muscle for whatever reason. What do? I'm going to tell you exactly that now. We're going to simplify a few points and tell you exactly what you need to consider when it comes to building muscle. You're going to employ them, remove all the other crap online, and refine these as you go. Simple as that. How should you train? Probably one of the most overcomplicated areas of fitness, but we're going to isolate it and simplify it. 3 points. All you have to do is this. Train every muscle 2 to 3 times a week. If you're more focused on building certain areas, train that 3 times a week. If you're less focused, maybe train it twice. But for most people, every muscle 2 to 3 times a week. Throughout the week, you're going to accumulate what we call total weekly volume, which means when you add all of the sets you have done for each of those muscles, you have an end figure of how many sets you did per week. So if I did 2 sets of chest on a Monday, 2 on a Wednesday, and 2 on a Friday, I would have totaled 6 weekly sets for chest. So with that in mind, you're going to do 4 to 12 weekly sets per muscle. 4 for maybe the less important muscles, or maybe the smaller muscles, maybe closer to 12 for the more important or the muscles you wish to place greater emphasis on. I would not go straight to 12. I would start at the lower end and build up gradually, as each of us will recover differently, and we don't want to be put in a position where you cannot recover from what you're doing. So start with 4 across the week, then maybe go to 6, maybe go to 8, and if you're seeing progress, nothing needs to change. And with that in mind, if you have priority muscles that you wish to focus on, for example, you're going to the gym, but you really want to build your quads or your glutes, let's say, train your glutes earlier in the workout and earlier in the week. You train them at the start of the week, start of the workout, especially if you do them 3 times a week. You are doing so in a more recovered and less fatigued state. Therefore, you can probably put a bit more into them. So priority muscles earlier, less important muscles for you, maybe later. Simple as that. And if you like what I'm saying, like the video, leave a comment, and maybe even subscribe to the channel, as it shows that what I'm saying is of use to you, and I'll make more content like this. Now we've kind of identified somewhat what you should do. How hard should you do it? The first thing I want to clarify is lifting heavy will not hurt you. Lifting heavy is important. Oftentimes people hurt themselves due to over fatigue and under recovery. They're doing too much and they can't recover from what they're doing. So with that in mind, lift heavy. And heavy is relative to you. Don't look at people online and get expectations of what you should lift. It's all relative to you. And then you ask yourself, well, how hard should I lift? How hard should I push it? 0 to 2 reps in reserve is my green zone. But that's basically to failure or 2 reps from failure. That is where I like to keep people most of the time. And most of you probably don't actually have a good idea or good gauge of your RAR, so reps in reserve, which is your proximity to failure. One of the easiest things to do, in my opinion, is just go to failure. Go until you cannot do any more. That's 0 RAR. So if you do 10 reps with a weight, 9 reps would be 1 RAR, 8 reps would be 2 RAR, and now you have a better idea of where your proximity to failure is. And with that in mind, get stronger. Progressive overload is key. What we want to do is ideally aim to do more weight, do more reps, or a combination of the both. Those 2 things, being weight and reps, are both examples of progressive overload, which is a byproduct to indicate that progression has been made and you are moving forward in the right direction. Will you progress every week? No. Earlier on in your journey, you probably will. You might end up lifting more weight or doing more reps every single week, but the further you get into it, it will slow down. And I typically expect progression to occur between every 1 to 4 weeks. If it takes longer than that, you might need to consider something, be that maybe change your training, look at your recovery, but those are all things we can consider down the line. And as always, the link down below in the description and also the comment section too is a link to TFNL coaching. So if you want to be coached by me online to help you achieve your goals, wherever you may be in the world, and also whatever those goals may be, click the link, fill in the application form. I'll send you an email explaining a bit more, and we can hop on a free Zoom consultation call where we can waffle about things and then go from there. Number 3, the last training point I want to address is what movements should you actually do? And this is probably the most complicated area, or the area that most people overcomplicate. Simplify it to this. Identify what each muscle does. For example, the bicep curls the arm, elbow flexion, bending the arm. Therefore, to target that muscle effectively, you probably want to do a movement that aligns with its primary function, that does this. And ideally a movement that isn't going to be limited by something else. Beyond that, we also look at doing movements that don't repeat themselves. So if you're doing a chest fly, you probably don't need to do 2 different versions of a cable chest fly throughout your workout. This is what we call redundancy, which is basically doing 2 movements that target the muscle in the same way. Instead of doing 2 chest flies, what you might do is a press with a dumbbell and a fly with a cable. You're now targeting the muscle in different positions, and maybe if you want to spice up even more, you could target the muscle from different angles, doing an incline and a flat. And the last one, and that's probably the thing that most people forget, is find movements you like and do them. You can choose the most science-based, optimal movements in the world. If you can't stick to them because you actually just don't enjoy doing them, which in turn means you're probably not going to push them very hard, it's probably not a great movement for you. Enjoyment is very important. So identify movements that you actually like doing, therefore will remain more consistent with. I'd probably prioritize those, to be honest. An honorable mention here, training splits. Whether you do full body 3 times a week, upper lower twice a week, or the bro split, which is chest and triceps, back and biceps once a week, whatever it may be. As long as you align with the points I've mentioned before about training frequency, intensity, volume and whatnot, you're probably fine. All I'd say is just choose the split that you enjoy most. There is no one best split in my opinion when it comes to just gym progression. It's simply about the one that you can remain most consistent with, the one that aligns with your lifestyle and your schedule, and the one you actually just enjoy. Nutrition. The thing that many people are afraid of, but also probably one of the things that you probably don't need to overcomplicate. The first thing I say is find your maintenance calories. Track your calories every day consistently and weigh yourself every morning for 2 weeks. If your body weight increases, do the same thing, eating slightly less calories. If your body weight decreases, do the same thing, eating slightly more. But we want to find a point where your body weight roughly stays the same, and that will roughly be your maintenance calories. You can also just use a TDEE calculator online, which can give you a rough guideline to start from. From that, if you want to lose weight, eat a percentage less. So enter a deficit. Be that a 5% deficit, a 20% deficit, it really depends on how aggressive you want to be with it. If you want to put yourself in a surplus, which is arguably a slightly easier state to build muscle, eat a little bit more. You do not need to eat a mass amount more. 5 to 10% over maintenance is probably plenty, depending on the individual. From that, how much protein should you consume? 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is probably plenty for most people. If you feel like you are at a particularly high body fat percentage and have a lot of weight to lose, then I'd probably aim to eat 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. And pair that with eating enough fat. Fat will not make you fat. Fat is very calorie dense, as there's 9 calories per gram of fat, whereas carbs and protein only have 4 calories per gram. But fat is fundamental when it comes to hormone regulation. So for most people, I say eat anywhere from 40 to 50 grams of fat per day, depending on your calories, as a minimum. That's simply for hormones. And then finish that with drink enough water. Most of you are not drinking enough water, but you'll be shocked to see what a positive impact that has on not just your quality of life, also your training, simply by drinking enough water. People might say consume 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight, but I think for a lot of people, that's a pretty good idea to follow 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. Or some people might say 1 liter per 1,000 calories consumed. I prefer the body weight metric, as I believe that slightly larger bodies, for example myself being 6'3", will probably need more water to thrive and to be optimized than if I were 4'1". All right, the last point. One point that most people probably don't need to stress about, supplements. The majority of you do not need to worry too much about supplements. It's really not that deep. They will not do as much as you think they will when it comes to your progression. That being said, there are a few supplements I would probably recommend if you're in a position to utilize them. Creatine monohydrate. It's probably not as good or as useful when it comes to building muscle as you think, but it does have a lot of cognitive health benefits, which I think many of us could probably benefit from. With that, I simply say 0.1 grams of creatine per kilo of body weight. That's how much I think you should take. Pair that with a protein powder if you need one. We've already spoken about setting a protein target. Now, to meet that target, you might find it quite hard to do so just consuming whole foods. That's very common. Find a protein powder that you like the taste of and that you digest well. Nail that, and it just helps you get that little bit closer to that protein target more efficiently and also more conveniently. And then to finish it off, you probably don't need loads of supplements. Many influencers online will try and push you to buy a lot of these supplements to give you the belief that they will make or break your progress. No, they will not. Supplements are there to supplement your diet, not replace anything, nor will they actually help you anywhere near as much as you probably think. Save your money for better things like more equipment, nicer food, or even just a better gym membership. Like with all my videos, this is simply my opinion and you don't have to align with it. I'm simply presenting what I believe. Nothing is fact, it is just simply an opinion. But I'd love to hear your opinion in the comment section below. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, and as always, thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating, hopefully, my useful beginner tips and waffle, and thank you for tolerating